One of the world's most popular country singers, Tim McGraw has released 13 studio albums. 10 of those albums have reached #1 on the top country albums chart. He has won 3 Grammy Awards, 14 Academy of Country Music Awards, 10 American Music Awards, and 3 People's Choice Awards.
Tim McGraw's music style is confident, hot country sound. He has a lot of sex appeal, he has a lot of confidence, and he puts it out there as if he's king of the world.
Tim's Soul to Soul tour with his wife Faith Hill is the highest grossing tour in country music history.
And anytime I can sing with her, she raises the bar. I mean, to me, I know I'm biased, but I'm also an artist, so I can look at it from an artist point of view. I think she's one of the finest singers there are in the world. I think she's just a real soul singer. And to get a chance to sing with her is pretty special, I think, for any artist, for me especially.
Tim's still producing great music, and we're over 2 decades on from when he first hit success, and I don't see that changing for a while. Plus, with Faith Hill as a wife, if ever he's having a bit of a dry patch creatively, he's got another country star in the household he can go and get some ideas from.
McGraw has sold over 40 million albums and dominated the charts with 32 #1 singles.
What's extraordinary is, despite the fact that he's been so successful as a singer and as an actor, really, he's married to one of the most beautiful and glamorous and famous women in country music as well. He's managed to stay fairly down to earth and very much committed to making his marriage and family work. I think his values appear to be very much intact, and this is a guy who you never see stumbling out of nightclubs or read about any kind of crazy, wild, illicit romances. You know, this is a guy who goes home to his wife and 3 daughters, and it's really a beautiful thing to see.
I feel free artistically. I feel like there's a whole new chapter that I'm starting to uncover in my career and the things that I do and the records that I make. I just really feel like that it's time for me to look forward. It's time for me to just sort of step on the gas.
Get the inside story of one of country music's biggest stars. When Tim McGraw debuted in the early 1990s, few would have predicted that he would eventually take over Garth Brooks' position as the most popular male singer in country music. Yet that's exactly what he did, thanks to a string of multi-platinum albums, a high-profile marriage to fellow superstar Faith Hill, and Brooks' own inevitable decline. Tim McGraw's sound epitomized the strain of commercial country that dominated his era. Updated honky-tonk and southern fried country rock on the up-tempo tunes, well-polished adult contemporary tinged pop on the ballads. Helped out early in his career by several novelty items, McGraw simply wound up cranking out hookier hits on a more consistent basis than any of his peers. By the late 90s, he was not only a superstar among country fans, but also a mainstream celebrity with a fan base of millions. Tim McGraw's journey to the top of country music has been an epic journey, and to truly understand his meteoric rise, we have to go back to where it all started. Samuel Timothy McGraw was born in Delhi, Louisiana on May 1, 1967. as the only child of Betty D'Agostino, a waitress, and Tug McGraw Jr., a star pitcher for the New York Mets and Philadelphia Phillies. McGraw is of Italian descent on his mother's side and of English and French on his father's side. In 1966, Tug was a pitcher for the Jacksonville Suns, and he lived in an apartment above Betty D'Agostino, who attended Terry Parker High School. The pair had a relationship, and when Betty became pregnant, her parents sent her to Louisiana to live with relatives and to raise the baby. Raised by his mother in Start, east of Monroe, McGraw grew up believing his stepfather, Horace Smith, was his father.
Tim McGraw's stepdad married his mom when Tim was only 7 months old, and he was always led to believe that that was his, in fact, biological father.
From the time of his mother's marriage until the time he met his biological father, his last name was Smith. At age 11, McGraw discovered his birth certificate while searching his mother's closet to look for Christmas presents.
Tim confronted his mother with this information, and she confessed, yes, in fact, she'd had a fling with this baseball player when he was living in an apartment upstairs in Jacksonville, Florida, and he didn't want anything to do with the baby, so she moved on, remarried, and raised him that way. What's extraordinary is the fact that, first of all, Tim actually had a baseball card of Tug McGraw on his wall at the time, not knowing that that was his dad. But also, Tim happened to be extremely good at baseball himself.
He used to play baseball quite a bit, so it's really interesting that those genes were playing such an important part. But then he ended up going into music, and he's given us quite a lot of good stuff, so I think a good decision there.
After his discovery, his mother took Tim to meet Tug McGraw for the first time. For 7 years, Tug denied being Tim's father.
At that time, he'd already remarried, had a new family, and didn't want to acknowledge his illegitimate son. And he really was a bit heartless about the whole thing.
Tug McGraw wouldn't admit that he was the dad. He denied it. And it was only as Tim started to look more and more like him that actually it couldn't be denied anymore. But actually, things ended really well. They got on really, really well. They became really close. And what could have ended up being a relationship that didn't exist turned into something really nice.
The impact of Tim McGraw growing up and finding out that his dad was not his dad, the impact of that on Tim McGraw was massive. Had a lot to do with shaping the man that he would become. He had, and still has a great relationship with his stepfather. He considers him his dad. And in fact, a lot of Tim's early interest in country music can be traced to his stepfather because he was a truck driver. So Tim was often in the truck listening to country music. George Strait, for example, he heard over and over. And he heard those songs very much as part of his childhood. They very much affected him and increased his interest, and potentially one of the main reasons he ended up becoming a country singer himself. So both his biological dad and his father he grew up with had a great influence on Tim McGraw. But I also think that for an 11-year-old to find out that his dad is not really his dad would have been a very traumatic, painful situation. And I think some of that you can hear later on in the lyrics of some of Tim's songs.
During his college years, he learned to play guitar and would frequently perform and sing for tips, although he claims his roommates often hid the guitar because he was so bad. His mother, Betty, returned to Jacksonville, Florida in 1987, and Tim followed. He attended Florida Community College at Jacksonville for 1 term and occasionally sat in with local bands. In 1989, on the day his hero Keith Whitley died, McGraw dropped out of college to head to Nashville and pursue a musical career.
So Tim was really good at 2 things, baseball and country music. And when he decided that he was going to move to Nashville and pursue this country career, he told his mother, who said that she was surprised he hadn't done it earlier, which I think is a pretty good endorsement.
Anybody that wants to be a country singer has to come through Nashville. You don't have to always live in Nashville, once you've become a successful country singer, but it's almost impossible to do it without living here at some point.
I get asked all the time by aspiring artists, should I move to Nashville? And some people, well, George Strait never moved to Nashville, you know. It can happen and does happen outside of Nashville. But my personal philosophy is, if you want to hunt tigers, you go to the jungle. And this is the jungle. And I think in particular, that's true if you're a writer. Because if you want to learn the craft of country songwriting, this is the school right here. This is the university. This is the graduate level learning program.
As far as what Nashville does for an artist, you know, Nashville is where the talent is centralized. You've got more, especially if you're into country, you've got more songwriters here than you've got anywhere else. The record labels are here, the producers are here, the other singers are here, the whole industry is here. And so if you want to start meeting the people that you need to know to put together a successful team to make you the kind of star that you want to be, you got to be in Nashville.
McGraw came to the attention of Curb Records in 1990. After cutting a demo single, McGraw gave a copy to his father. A man who was friends with Curb Records executives heard the demo while driving with Tug one day and recommended that Curb contact the young singer. Several weeks later, he was able to play his tape for Curb executives, after which they signed him to a record contract. McGraw's first single, What Room Was the Holiday Inn, did not enter the Billboard Hot Country Song charts upon its release. In a 2001 retrospective on McGraw's career in Billboard, a former program director for Nashville station WSM-FM said that he added the song to the station's playlist because it showed, quote, undeniable promise. 3 more singles were released from Tim McGraw: Welcome to the Club, Memory Lane, and Two Step in Mind, although none of these made the top 40 and the album itself did not chart.
Now, his very first album, well, it was great that he got it out there. It just didn't perform very well, but success was just around the corner.
His second album, Not a Moment Too Soon, was much more successful, becoming the best-selling country album in 1994.
His second album was Not a Moment Too Soon, and that was when things really started to take off. They was getting big single success from that. The album itself did really well. And I think at that point, Nashville realized that Tim McGraw was going to be around for a while.
The first single, Indian Outlaw, caused considerable controversy, as critics argued that it presented Native Americans in a patronizing way. Some radio stations refused to play it, but the controversy helped spur sales, and the song became McGraw's first top 10 country single and reached number 15 on the Billboard Hot 100.
Tim McGraw burst on the scene. It really was with the song Indian Outlaw. That was when people started to really kind of sit up and take notice of him. If you look at the video, you know, he has a lot of sass as he stands there draped in black, singing this song. He has a lot of confidence. He looks very cocky. And I think that's one of the things that fans responded to is, even though he really wasn't a big star at this point, he acts like one. Despite the dodgy mustache and the mullet, he still manages to eke out some sex appeal.
So the video's in this country club, and there's different pieces of Indian, Cherokee, outlaw memorabilia and things stuck around. And they're doing this odd kind of line dance thing almost in there as well. And he's singing, I'm an Indian outlaw, and he doesn't really look like an Indian outlaw that much. It's just a bit strange.
I'm an Indian outlaw, half Cherokee and Choctaw. My baby, she's a Chippewa, she's a one of a kind. All my friends call me Bear Claw.
The song Indian Outlaw actually caused a lot of controversy because of the lyrics. I mean, they really are pretty offensive, I think. It's like, I'm an Indian outlaw, I'm half Chippewa, I'm in my wigwam. beating my tom-tom. I mean, it's like he thought of every Indian Native American cliche and just rhymed them all together. Once the song started to get a lot of mainstream play, Native American groups, of course, kind of came down on it and said the song is ultimately a little bit patronizing. However, country music fans loved it. In fact, Tim used Indian Outlaw at the end of all of his concert tours to close the show. I think what people like about that song is that it has a catchy beat, it has a sassy rhythm to it, and I think Tim really has the confidence to pull it off.
So the success with 2 back-to-back albums was amazing, and it really established Tim McGraw as one of the most successful country music acts those years.
The second single from the album, Don't Take the Girl, became McGraw's first #1 country hit, in addition to reaching number 17 on the Top 100, and helped cement his image as a ruggedly good-looking guy with a sensitive side. By year's end, Down on the Farm had peaked at number 2 on the country charts. After it, the album's title track became his second #1 single in early 1995, and Refried Dreams reached number 5 afterward. The album sold over 6 million copies, topping the Billboard 200 as well as the country album charts. On the strength of this success, McGraw won Academy of Country Music Awards for Album of the Year and Top New Male Vocalist in 1994. Billboard named Not a Moment Too Soon as the top country album of 1994. All I Want, Tim McGraw's third studio album, released in 1995, also debuted at #1 on the country charts. The album sold over 2 million copies and reached the top 5 on the Billboard 200. I Like It, I Love It reached #1 on the country charts as the lead-off single, also crossing over to the Hot 100 at number 25.
#1, you're nominated for what tonight? In the Country Music Male Award, is that right?
Yeah, I think that's what it is. No, I'm more nervous about getting up and performing tonight than I am about the award part of it. But,
What are you going to be singing tonight?
We're going to sing our brand new single, All I Want. It's the title track of the album.
And what is it? What do you hear from your fans? I mean, are they big on this award ceremony, this Blockbuster?
You know, I think so. I think the Blockbuster Awards is becoming one of the largest awards around and one of the most prestigious. So it's fun to be here. Good talking.
Thank you very much.
The album's next 2 singles, Can't Really Be Gone and All I Want Is a Life, both made top 5, with She Never Lets It Go to Her Heart becoming his 4th #1 in 1996.
The video for All I Want is more traditional country. It's quite wild where they are. The colours are quite interesting on it. There's a weird, scary clown that appears early on in the video and reappears a few times. But this gives more of an indication of where Tim's music is going. It's more his style, certainly more than Indian Outlaw was. He looks a little scary in some places in that video. If he was hitchhiking, I would not pick him up, or his clown friends.
In 1996, McGraw headlined the most successful country tour of the year, the Spontaneous Combustion Tour, with Faith Hill as his supporting act. Hill broke off her engagement to her former producer, Scott Hendricks, so that she and McGraw could start dating each other.
Spontaneous Combustion was actually the perfect name for the tour because that is exactly what happened between Tim and Faith. They fell almost immediately in love. Now, it was difficult because Faith was actually engaged to a guy called Scott Hendricks at the time. She was not single, but their attraction was, I suppose, impossible to resist. That same year, they actually were married. It's funny because, you know, Tim has told the story many times of how he proposed. He got down on one knee in his trailer at the concert venue, and she said to him, you know, I can't believe you're proposing to me in this country trailer. And he said, well, we're country music artists, you know, what do you expect? He went out on, she didn't answer right away. He went out on stage and she wrote in lipstick, yes, on the mirror for when he came back. It's a very sweet story. They got married very soon afterwards, and the next year their first of 3 daughters was born.
The couple have since had 3 daughters, Grace Catherine, Maggie Elizabeth, and Audrey Caroline, born December 2001.
For Tim's kids, having two country superstars as parents means one of two things. Either they're going to go into country music and have a really good head start, or they're going to go as far away as possible.
In the modern era of music, social media is a vital tool in order for music stars to keep in touch with their millions of fans. However, it seems Tim McGraw does not want to follow social traditions and has spoken publicly about his dislike for social media.
Tim has not embraced social media. This idea of being in touch all the time is not really his thing. He's quite private when it comes to his family life and his kids, so he doesn't really tweet. His team tweet for him, they do all that kind of stuff.
Not only does he not want to be on Twitter and have any kind of social media accounts, he's also banned his three daughters, Gracie, Maggie, and Audrey, from having the same thing, which is quite extraordinary if you think about it. In this day and age, you've got three young teenage girls, young girls, not allowed to be, tweeting or Instagramming. But I think, as a protective dad, he's absolutely doing something I'd probably want to do myself.
And he did say in an interview that he didn't want his kids to tweet either. I'm not sure how long that will last for, but he certainly likes to have a barrier between the public Tim McGraw and the private one.
McGraw's next album, 1997's Everywhere, again topped the country charts and reached number 2 on the album charts, selling 4 million copies. 4 singles, It's Your Love, Everywhere, Where the Green Grass Grows, and Just to See You Smile, reached the top of the country charts from the album. The Country Music Association awarded Everywhere its Album of the Year award for 1997.
If there's a video that is typically Tim McGraw, I'd say it's probably Everywhere. It's filmed in a small town. You've got the train going along, Tim walking with his trademark hat, of course. It's very much the America that you hear a lot about in his music. Small towns, some of the issues of small towns in there as well, but beautifully set, some really nice scenery as well. It'd be a nice place to live.
The day you were down in Georgia, picking down peaches in Carolina, barefoot on the beaches.
At the 40th Grammy Awards, It's Your Love received 2 Grammy Award nominations for Best Country Collaboration with Vocals and Best Country Song. It's Your Love and Just to See You Smile were the top country songs of 1997 and 1998, according to Billboard Year End. Just to See You Smile also set a record for the longest run on the country charts at the time, at 42 weeks. A Place in the Sun continued McGraw's streak in 1999, debuting atop both the U.S. country and pop album charts and selling 3 million copies. 251,000 copies were sold in the first week, making it his first #1 opener on the Billboard 200. It featured another 4 chart-topping singles on the country charts, including Please Remember Me, Something Like That, My Best Friend, and My Next 30 Years. Some Things Never Change reached number 7 on the country chart.
If there was any doubt about how much Tim loved his wife, Faith Hill, it was at the 1999 Country Awards where he won Best Male Vocalist and went up on stage and said, "This is for my wife." It was a lovely moment.
He also contributed a song for the Grammy-winning tribute album to Bob Wills entitled Ride with Bob. A cover of Milk Cow Blues, this song was recorded as a duet with Asleep at the Wheel, whom he had met while performing together at the George Strait Country Music Festival. McGraw recorded 2 more duets with his wife in the late 1990s, both of which appeared on her albums. Just to Hear You Say That You Love Me from her multi-platinum album Faith, 1998, reached the top 5 of the U.S. country charts, while her follow-up album Breathe, 1999, featured Let's Make Love, which won a Grammy Award for Best Country Vocal Collaboration in 2000. In 2000, McGraw released his greatest hits album, which topped the charts for 9 weeks and sold almost 6 million copies, making it one of the biggest selling albums in the modern country market. In the latter half of the year, he and Hill went out on the Soul to Soul tour, playing to sell-out crowds in 65 venues, including Madison Square Garden. It was one of the top tours of any genre in the US and the leading country tour during 2000. Midway through the tour, while in Buffalo, New York, McGraw and Kenny Chesney became involved in a scuffle with police officers after Chesney attempted to ride a police horse. McGraw came to Chesney's aid after police officers nearby believed the horse was being stolen and tried to arrest him. The two were arrested and charged with assault, but were later cleared. During a concert with the George Strait Country Music Festival several weeks later, Hill, dressed as a police officer, made an unscheduled appearance at the end of McGraw's set and led him off the stage.
So one of Tim's best buddies is Kenny Chesney, and they used to live on the same block together. Imagine the parties going on there.
McGraw's next album, Set This Circus Down, was released in April 2001 and spawned 4 #1 country hits: Grown Men Don't Cry, Angry All the Time with Faith Hill, The Cowboy in Me, and Unbroken. He provided harmony vocals for the Joe D. Messina song Bring On the Rain, which he also produced. The song topped the country charts. Hungry for more of his music, fans downloaded a version of his performance of the song Things Change from his appearance at the Country Music Association Awards show. The song was played extensively on the radio, becoming the first country song to appear on the charts from a fully downloaded version. In 2002, McGraw bucked country music traditions by recording his album Tim McGraw and the Dance Hall Doctors with his tour band, the Dance Hall Doctors.
Instead of using session musicians to record the album, he used his touring band. In country music, you know, they separate it normally. And he said, you know what, these guys have worked so hard on the road for me, I want them to also reap the success of being my session musicians. So they got to do both.
McGraw chose to use his own touring band in order to recognize their part in his success and to capture some of the feel of a real band. The album debuted at #2 on the country albums charts, with the single Real Good Man reaching #1 on the Hot Country Songs chart. She's My Kind of Rain reached #2 in 2003, and Red Ragtop reached the top 5. The album also featured a cover version of Elton John's early 1970s classic, Tiny Dancer, as well as appearances by Kim Carnes on Comfort Me, a response to the September 11, 2001 attacks, and Don Henley and Timothy B. Schmidt of the Eagles on Illegal. She's My Kind of Rain received a Grammy Award nomination for Best Country Vocal Performance at the 46th Grammy Award. 2004's Live Like You Were Dying continued McGraw's record of commercial success. The title track, dedicated to his father, Tug McGraw, who died of a brain tumor earlier in the year, was an ode to living life fully and in the moment. While the second single, Back When, was a paean to an easy nostalgia. Live Like You Were Dying spent 7 non-consecutive weeks at #1 on Billboard and went on to become the top country song of 2004 on the Billboard year-end charts.
This was a song that everybody connected with. If you look at the video, you know, you see Tim, he's barefoot, he's in a very simple pair of jeans and a white shirt, which isn't even really buttoned up all the way. And he looks in a casual way. He's just speaking almost directly to the viewer. And while he's doing that, you see these home movies going on. They're like almost sepia toned. It's obviously from a long time ago, and it appears to be Tim at home with his family, or maybe as a little boy with his dad.
Skydiving, I went Rocky Mountain climbing, I went 2.7 seconds on a bull named Fu Manchu, man I love.
He's got his trademark hat on, of course, and around him are these video screens kind of moving with different parts of life on the screens that tie in really nicely with the sentiment of the song. And although he didn't write it, it became a tribute to his father in the performance of it. And also you get to see a bit of Tug McGraw right at the end as well, pitching in the baseball. Just a really meaningful 3 or 4 minutes of video and song. And Tim and his team should be so proud of that song.
The song, Live Like You Were Dying, is a song that's very much about his father, who had passed away. And the message to people, really, about the song was, don't miss out on anything. Skydive, do all the things that you want to do in your life. Live as if you're dying because you don't want to miss out on anything. It was a beautiful, emotional song with a lot of feeling, and people really connected with it. I think one of Tim McGraw's greatest strengths is his ability to convey deep, emotional thoughts in his music. He's not about just entertaining or a catchy lyric. He's really about connecting with people on a very deep, emotional level, and I think Live Like You Were Dying is one that's very successful at doing that.
I was interviewing the Shires, who are one of the biggest UK country groups, and they said if there's one song that they wish they'd written, it would be Live Like You Were Dying.
Live Like You Were Dying also became one of the most awarded records by winning ACM Single and Song of the Year, CMA Single and Song of the Year, and a Grammy. The album included 3 more singles: Drugs or Jesus, his first since 1993 not to reach the top 10 on the country charts, Do You Want Fries With That, and My Old Friend. In late 2004, his unlikely duet with hip-hop artist Nelly on Over and Over became a crossover hit, spending 10 weeks atop the top 40 chart. Over and Over brought McGraw a success he had never previously experienced on contemporary hit radio or R&B radio, and brought both artists success neither had previously experienced in the hot adult contemporary market. The song also spent a week at the top of the charts in the United Kingdom, becoming McGraw's first hit single in Britain and Nelly's 3rd #1 hit in the country after Dilemma and My Place. Over and Over also reached the top of the charts in Australia, New Zealand, and the Republic of Ireland, and the top 10 in Austria, Canada, Denmark, Germany, Romania, and Switzerland.
Tim is one of the country artists who has occasionally moved outside of country music and collaborated with other people, done different things. And one example of that was when he sang with Nelly on a track called Over and Over. Now, this was really big in the US, as you'd expect, not just on country radio, but pop radio as well, but also went around the world and went #1 in both the UK and Australia.
Throughout the 2005 NFL season, McGraw sang an alternate version of I Like It, I Love It every week during the season. The alternate lyrics, which changed each week, would make reference to plays during Sunday's games, and the song would be played alongside video highlights during halftime on Monday Night Football. Later in the year, McGraw became a minority owner of the Arena Football League's Nashville Cats. When majority owner Bud Adams, owner of the NFL's Tennessee Titans, was awarded the expansion franchise. Being an established country music star, Tim wanted to try his hand at acting. In 2004, McGraw played a sheriff in Rick Schroder's independent release, Black Cloud. Later in the same year, McGraw received critical acclaim as the overbearing father of a running back in the major studio Texas high school football drama Friday Night Lights. The Dallas Observer said the role was played with unexpected ferocity by country singer Tim McGraw. The movie went on to gross over $60 million worldwide at the box office and sold millions in the DVD market. The film went on to be named one of the top 50 high school movies of all time by Entertainment Weekly. In April 2006, McGraw and Hill began their Soul to Soul 2 tour, again to strong commercial acceptance. The tour grossed nearly $89 million and sold almost 1.1 million tickets, making it the top grossing tour in the history of country music. It was named Major Tour of the Year by the prestigious Pollstar magazine, beating out such heavyweights as Madonna and the Rolling Stones. In a special gesture, the couple donated all of the profits from their performance in New Orleans to Hurricane Katrina relief. In the days immediately following Hurricane Katrina, McGraw and his wife, who was raised in Mississippi, joined groups taking supplies to Gulfport, Mississippi. The two also hosted several charity concerts to benefit those who were displaced by the storm. Later in the year, the couple established the Neighbors Keeper Foundation, which provides funding for community charities to assist with basic humanitarian services in the event of a natural disaster or for desperate personal circumstances.
Tim's quite happy to give back as well. You'll often see him taking part in charity events. There's big gigs going on to raise money, he'll be there. He's done quite a bit as well for the frontline emergency services in the States, for police and firefighters. He's had a lot of success, but he's also a good guy behind it and is willing to give back.
He's given a lot of money and time to support heroic firefighters and police officers who put their lives on the line every day in America. And he's really tried to support, particularly these two fields, as much as he can. Tim's got a big heart. He's not afraid to kind of put it out there in his music, and I think he's very successful at that. It definitely shines through in each and everything that he does.
McGraw's first lead role in a film was in the 2006 film Flicka, which was released in theaters October 20th, 2006. In the remake of the classic book My Friend Flicka, McGraw played the father, Rob, co-starring with Alison Lohman and Maria Bello. The family-friendly movie debuted in the top 10 list and has grossed over $25 million at the box office. McGraw again achieved critical acclaim for his acting. Shortly before Flicka opened, McGraw received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. One of his Flicka co-stars, Alison Lohman, attended the ceremony that included comments from Billy Bob Thornton, McGraw's co-star in the film Friday Night Lights.
And welcome to the Walk of Fame. Our ceremony is sponsored by the Hollywood Historic Trust and the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce. Today we honor a man who has earned a place in the front ranks of American entertainment as one of the music world's most popular and respected performers. I love your squeals. This morning we will unveil a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame for Tim McGraw. Let me introduce at this time the president of the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce for a few welcoming remarks. He's been a big part of the revitalization of our community. We can thank him with a nice round of applause. LeRon Gubler, bring him on.
Congratulations on behalf of Mr. Garcetti. There's nothing like country music. And I want to say I'm so happy for you and your family. This is a great boulevard. This is a great city. And music is what brings the world together. And country, funk, rock and roll, long live it. I just want to say a big shout out to my favorite song is by Chuck Berry, Promised Land, because this is the Promised Land, Los Angeles, California. Let's hear it for Tim McGraw. Also, Tim, is your mother here anymore? I got to sit down.
You gonna sit?
Okay, Ty.
Okay, other than my own, I've only been to one of these things 3 times in my life, one today and one yesterday. So I feel pretty lucky that 2 of my friends in 1 week, Bruce Willis yesterday and Tim today, are deservedly getting stars on the Walk of Fame. I've known Tim as a musician and a great singer for a long time, but I got to know him in the last 2 or 3 years as a great actor too. and he and I were fortunate enough to work together in Friday Night Lights. That's somewhere that he has a great career ahead of him also. So every time this guy's on screen, you got to go see him because he's really terrific, and he's going to be doing it for a long time. And more importantly than all that, in these days and times, it's good to have a family and a home, and Tim's done that very well. He has a great family. He's a wonderful father, wonderful husband, and a great friend. And I can't think of anybody else in country music who deserves a star on this walk more than Tim. All right.
McGraw released his 11th album, Let It Go, on March 27, 2007. The album's debut single, Last Dollar, Fly Away, reached #1 on the Hot Country Songs chart, making it McGraw's first #1 single since Back When in late 2004. The album debuted at #1 on the Billboard Top 200 album chart and #1 on the Billboard Country album chart, marking his 4th #1 Top 200 album and 9th #1 country album. His daughters can be heard singing the chorus during the last few seconds of the song on the video. During the Academy of Country Music Awards show on May 21, 2007, McGraw performed a song titled If You're Reading This, which he co-wrote with the Warren Brothers. Several radio stations began to play the live recording of the song. As a result, it entered in the Hot Country Songs chart at #35. McGraw also produced the debut album of country music duo Halfway to Hazard. The duo's first single, Daisy, peaked at #39 on the country charts in the summer of 2007. In the summer of 2007, McGraw and Hill toured together once again in the Soul to Soul 2007 tour.
So Tim and his wife Faith Hill have this rule that they'll never be apart for more than 3 days in a row, which is why Faith makes quite a few appearances in Tim's gigs, which I think everyone wins.
In the January 18, 2008 edition of the USA Today newspaper, McGraw was stated to be featured on the Def Leppard album, Songs from the Sparkle Lounge, having also co-written the first single, 9 Lives, with Def Leppard band members Joe Elliott, Phil Collen, and Rick Savage. The unusual pairing goes back to 2006, when McGraw joined Def Leppard on stage for the song Pour Some Sugar on Me, and then collaborated on the song 9 Lives afterwards. The album was released on April 25, 2008. At the 2007 50th Annual Grammy Awards, McGraw received 5 nominations, including Best Country Album, Let It Go, Best Country Song, If You're Reading This, and I Need You, Best Country Collaboration with Vocals, I Need You, and Best Male Country Vocal Performance, If You're Reading This. In May 2008, he hit the road with the Live Your Voice Tour. The mainly outdoor arena concert tour was his first solo outing in nearly 3 years. Also in May 2008, he debuted a new song off his follow-up to Let It Go at the Stagecoach Music Festival in Indio, California. In July 2008, McGraw's 6th single and the title track of his album, Let It Go, was released to country radio. Following that, a 7th single, Nothing to Die For, entered the country charts at number 57 in late December. McGraw released his 3rd Greatest Hits package, Greatest Hits 3, on October 7th, 2008. The album features 12 tracks. McGraw was set to debut a new song on the 2009 ACM Awards, but then canceled his performance. He was replaced by Blake Shelton, who sang She Wouldn't Be Gone. McGraw's 12th studio album, Southern Voice, was released October 20th, 2009. And led by the single, It's a Business Doing Pleasure with You, which was shipped to radio outlets in late June 2009. Southern Voice was argued to be McGraw's last album for Curb Records following the dispute over releasing his third greatest hits collection back in October 2008 without his permission. McGraw did not approve of the release. On November 30th, 2010, Curb Records released his fourth greatest hits compilation, Number One Hits. Also in 2010, McGraw starred in Country Strong as James Cantor, the husband and manager of the fictional country singer Kelly Cantor, portrayed by Gwyneth Paltrow. In addition to his appearance on the film, McGraw's song Me in Tennessee, a duet with Paltrow, was played during the closing credits. After the success of the movie, Gwyneth Paltrow was honored with a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and Tim was at the event expressing his admiration for the actress.
Now this is nerve-wracking here, man. But I'm used to standing by tall, gorgeous blondes, so I can handle it. I'm gonna read, if you don't mind, because I haven't memorized my lines. Shauna, you know that very well, don't you? It's wonderful to be here with all of you today to honor Gwyneth Paltrow. Now, we all know that she's one of the most talented and accomplished actors of our time, and we also now know that she sings beautifully. With all that talent, it's a good thing that she's so homely, because otherwise we'd probably hate her. I guess that's just one of your imperfections you'll have to live with, huh? I suppose that I think her most unique and wonderful gift is her incredible ability in bringing out the best in everyone around her. You know, on set with her, you're simultaneously challenged and inspired. You sort of rise to the occasion with Gwyneth. You grow. She can do anything, and then she makes you feel like you can do anything also when you're around her. Everyone wants to work with someone like that, and everyone also wants to be around someone like that in their life. Gwyneth's one of the most genuine, warm, and normal people that I've ever met. She inspires goodness, and that's the best kind of friend that you can have. And that's the reason that Faith and I are happy to be here today for Gwyneth, because she's become a cherished friend to us. Congratulations today on this wonderful career milestone, and I'm proud to know you. Thank you for letting me work with you.
As of fall 2010, McGraw had finished work on the album Emotional Traffic, his last album with Curb Records. On May 13, 2011, Curb Records filed a breach of contract suit against McGraw. The label alleged that McGraw recorded tracks for his Emotional Traffic album too early prior to its delivery to the label. Several days later, McGraw filed a countersuit against the label, seeking advance payment and a recording fund reimbursement, unspecified damages, and a jury trial. A trial was scheduled to begin in July 2012. In November 2011, a judge granted McGraw permission to record music for another label, ending his relationship with Curb Records that began in 1990. A few hours after the ruling, Curb released Better Than I Used to Be, the second single from Emotional Traffic. The album was released on January 24, 2012.
I think there's more ahead of me than behind me. I think that it's time for me to look forward. It's time for me to look at my new partner in the record business and making records and radio and just sort of step on the gas. I think that I'm at a great spot in my career, and I think that there's nothing but bigger and better things ahead of me. When it came time for me to look for a new partner in the business, I looked at the landscape. I looked at what I thought was the best opportunities for me out there. There's tons of different kinds of deals, different structures, and I wanted somebody who was a visionary, who was a partner artistically, economically with me, who had the same ideas and the same ways of doing things, but also brought fresh and new things to me, things that changed sort of the way I'd done things for a while. I've known Scott Borchetta for a long time. I knew his dad for a long time, one of my first people I met in town, you know, back in the early days. So I'm looking forward to a big future and a lot of great work together. The past is the past. I've had a lot of success. I'm looking forward to more success. I really think at 45 and being in this business for as long as I have, I really think I'm just now starting to get a sense of what it is that I do and how I do it, you know, and getting, you know, I feel free artistically. I feel like there's a whole new chapter that I'm starting to uncover in my career and the things that I do and the records that I make. I just really feel like that I'm just getting my feet under me.
McGraw's debut album for a big machine, entitled 2 Lanes of Freedom, was released on February 5th, 2013.
Tim McGraw released his album 2 Lanes of Freedom, and it did very well. It debuted at number 2 on the charts, and he sold over 100,000 albums in the first week.
McGraw released a single titled Looking for That Girl in January 2014 as the lead-off single for his second album for Big Machine. It was followed immediately by the announcement of the Sundown Heaven Town Tour. The album, titled Sundown Heaven Town, was released on September 16, 2014. 4 months into its run, Looking for That Girl was withdrawn as a single and replaced with Meanwhile Back at Mama's, which features backing vocals from Hill.
You know, we coming on in October, it'll be 18 years that we've been married. So if you look at it through that perspective, we really haven't recorded a lot of songs together. Just a handful. And we try to only record songs that we think are special to us. And this was one of those songs. This was a song that when I heard it, I knew instantly I wanted to record it. Within the first 4 bars of hearing the lyric, I knew I wanted to record the song. And the second time I heard it, I was playing it for her. And at the end of the song, it was just the songwriter, it was just an acoustic guitar and a demo of him singing. And when it got to the end, where it said, me and you back at Mama's, and she started crying, I said, I'm gonna record it, and you're gonna record it with me. It was that quick. We made the decision that day, and it was just, we just thought it was a really special song. And anytime I can sing with her, she raises the bar. I mean, to me, I know I'm biased, but I'm also an artist, so I can look at it from an artist point of view. I think she's one of the finest singers there are in the world. I think she's just a real soul singer, and to get a chance to sing with her is pretty special, I think, for any artist, but for me especially. Especially because, you know, I look at myself as sort of like a NASCAR, and, you know, she's more of a Formula One racer, so to keep up with her is pretty tough.
Tim's video for Meanwhile at Mama's House is probably my favorite of all of his videos. First of all, you've got him and Faith together, and the sexual chemistry and the love that just kind of oozes between them. It's just so fantastic. They're so beautiful together, and it's such a fantastically beautiful video. What I love about this video is that it kind of expresses what we all feel when we go home. And it's showing, you know, back at Mama's house and kind of like the front porch and where they would stand and look out at the yard or the land, and, you know, kitchen and somebody's cooking in the kitchen and all of those wonderful memories we all have of home. And they contrast that in the video with Tim and Faith on stage. He's in a tuxedo, she's dressed in a very glamorous white sparkly gown, and they're performing in front of a huge concert, and it's them very glammed up. And then you see them back on the ranch. She's in jeans, she has almost no makeup on, and they're standing there. And it shows the contrast in their life. You know, you've got these two very famous, very rich, very successful people who go out on stage and entertain thousands, hundreds of thousands of fans, but they still want to go back to Mama's house. They still want to go back to what's real in this life. And I think this video does a fantastic job of conveying the two parallel sides of their lives.
I miss, yeah, a little dirt on the road. I miss corn growing in a row. I miss being somebody everybody knows there. Everybody knows everybody. I miss those small town roots, walking around in muddy boots, the sound of rain on an old tin roof. It's time we head on back. 'Cause meanwhile, back at Mama's, the for sale sign's going up, and I'm gonna...
If you're married to Faith Hill, it'd be a shame not to do any duets with Faith Hill. And Meanwhile Back at Mama's is a beautiful song, really nice. It's a ballad about, You know, the values of home and family. There's a lovely line in it that I really like as well that says, running out of credit, got a little cash on the radio, which I think is really nice and a throwback to classic country as well. And the video is filmed at their ranch, their farm, just outside Nashville. And you're watching it, and on one side you're thinking this is a beautiful song and the performance is great, and you can see the love between the two of them in the song. On the other side you're thinking, I really want to live here. I want to see cribs go around here. This is like a great place.
McGraw's 8th greatest hits album, Love Story, is a compilation of his 12 biggest love songs and 2 previously unreleased recordings. It was released exclusively through Walmart on February 4th, 2014 by Curb Records. On August 10th, 2015, McGraw released a new single to digital retailers titled Top of the World, which was later released to radio on August 17th, 2015, as the lead single to his upcoming 3rd studio album for Big Machine Records. On September 17th, McGraw announced that the album was titled Damn Country Music, with a release date scheduled for November 6, 2015. Tim McGraw's dedication, honesty, and integrity has helped him to not just become a country music superstar, but one of the biggest names in all of music today. In his record-shattering career, McGraw has sold over 40 million albums and dominated the charts with over 30 #1 singles. Since the release of his debut album in 1993, he has won 3 Grammys, 14 Academy of Country Music Awards, 11 Country Music Association Awards, and 10 American Music Awards, while simultaneously maintaining a parallel career as a successful actor.
I think for Tim McGraw, the future holds whatever he wants it to hold. I mean, he has an incredibly powerfully strong fan base. Whatever he records is going to be successful and do well. He looks as good as he's ever looked physically. I mean, he looks incredible. And he's done a really good job as an actor. He's gained a lot of critical praise and acclaim for every role he's done so far. So I think it's really just up to Tim. Whatever Tim wants to do, he's going to do well.
Now, with the release of Damn Country Music, his 14th studio album, Tim McGraw is extending his achievements even further. He came from a small town in Louisiana and went on to conquer the country music scene with classic albums that will be played for years to come. Fans of the country rock star can look forward to many more classic hits from Tim McGraw.
That's one of the cool things about being in this business and being in it for so long and having so many friends. I've known Kid Rock for, gosh, probably almost my whole career, you know, for at least 15 years. I like being able to experiment musically and grow as an artist. I think if I stopped doing that, if I stopped growing and stop experimenting and stop stretching my boundaries, then I probably shouldn't do it anymore. I mean, I don't want to ever be an artist that just sort of does the same thing over and over again. I don't think that would make me comfortable at all. These are my songs. These are what I feel like is the best music that I have, the best stuff that I have in my heart is what I want to do. It's not what I think. I don't go in necessarily thinking this is what I want radio to hear or what I think radio wants, and put it that way. This isn't necessarily what I think the label wants. This isn't necessarily what I think my fans want. This is what I want to do.